Good afternoon. It's 12:01, May 1st. Happy May Day, everybody. So happy to be here with you all to go through and talk about this podcast where this is Cindy Krupp's An Open Door. And because it's Thursday, this is Finding Truth Everywhere. I have to look on my little cheat sheet here. Finding Truth Everywhere. Which is where we are, everywhere, all at once, omnipresent, in the omnipresent now. Um, so we're going to take a look at Deepak Chopra being interviewed or in dialogue with Andre Decoum. Decoum, I believe, is how you pronounce his name. He's a wonderful interviewer, and there's some really great stuff on all of his channels. But this is called Mind, Memory, and the Multiverse. What is reality? So if you haven't had a chance to take a look at that YouTube, I encourage you to do so. There's some really great stuff in there. What I'll do right now is just go through some of the highlights and then open it up because I'm sure all of you have things that really spoke to you about it, and I can't wait to go through it. And Kendall's already started the discussion in the chat room. So hang in there, Kendall, and we'll get to it. One of the things I loved that it's the expression that Chopra used was, "This is a lucid dream in a vivid now," because that sort of captured for me how vivid the dream is, how expertly our divine mind designed this hallucination, this dream, so unbelievably intelligent, this lucid dream. And he goes on to say that we are building our lucidity muscle here. That's the challenge, and that's the it's not I hesitate to say it's a purpose, but that is a product of what we're doing here. And then he goes right into A Course in Miracles language. He says, "You've never left home, but you are self-identifying as your own projection." That's so Course in Miracles. And so he says, we've projected a jail and then we've moved in and we think we can't get out. I just love that. And then, as some of us have already pointed out earlier discussions this week, he says, anything that is perceivable is not real. Anything that's perceivable is not real. And he says, everything is consciousness, it's infinite, and it's irreducible, and that there wouldn't be any comprehension or conceiving or perceiving without consciousness. So consciousness is really, you can't get behind consciousness, is what he says. Oh, and then he said, all consciousness is now. It's all now. And now is not in space-time. And that caught me because I so often take the now as this little moment in space-time. It's like this little blip in space-time. Oh, now. And I think in a way, Francis Lucille sort of primed me for that by saying, sometimes you're in ignorance and then you wake up and you're not in ignorance, right? And then you fall back asleep and then you wake up. But as Francis would also say, you are never asleep. Not really. You're always consciousness. But he said, Chopra says, don't confuse now with time, right? It's outside space-time. And then he quoted Freeman Dyson, who's a physicist, and he said, God is what mind becomes when it goes beyond the threshold of comprehension. It's what mind becomes when it can no longer comprehend. And I found that ran throughout this whole discussion. Chopra was constantly coming back to the incomprehensible, the inconceivable, and then finding refuge in that, actually. Resting in the fact that that this mind can't conceive. And A Course in Miracles tells us that over and over and over again. So he was asked, what is the most direct path to awakening? And he said, first, let go of every concept and every perception as a window into infinite consciousness. And again, A Course in Miracles, forget everything you've learned, forget all the lessons, forget this book, forget every thought you've ever had, and come with wholly empty hands. Right? It's the same thing. Don't try to understand infinite consciousness using the perception of the mind, right? And as David just said, not knowing leads to knowing. Yeah. So Chopra said, bring presence, whatever presence you is arising in the moment, bring it into whatever is arising now. Bring it into the now. And God is impossible to avoid. God is impossible to avoid. Once you recognize all of this, you can't see anything else but God. Because all that's comprehensible comes out of the incomprehensible. Right? All that we can comprehend arises from that which we cannot comprehend. Oh, so then he really moves into challenging materialism, and he reminded me of Bernardo Kastrup with this when he said, realized matter is superstition, which is kind of like saying all physics is superstition. All our understanding of the material world is nothing but a superstition. And he said, if you're not experiencing synchronicity, then you're not experiencing non-locality. So every time we experience synchronicity, that is a non-local moment. We've left linear time. The other thing he said, and I think this is comforting for those of us who tend to think in linear terms. He said that you cannot get behind consciousness. So I can be aware, and I can be aware that I'm aware. And that's as far as I can go. I can't, it does no good to say, I'm aware that I'm aware that I'm aware, that I'm aware that I'm aware that I'm aware. Just stop, right? I'm aware and I'm aware I'm aware. That's it. I'm aware and I'm aware of it. You can't get behind consciousness any more than that. So rest in that and be happy with that. Ah, last thing I'll say is he talked a little bit about quantum mechanics being the best model for looking at the smallest things, right? But he says you don't experience things. You experience experience, right? And so it's the quality that we bring to experience. And that's why he calls it qualia mechanics, not quantum mechanics, qualia mechanics, because the quality of experience is what is important. How we experience the omnipresent now. Right? And this is a really, this could be a whole hour long of discussion, but he said that we have medieval minds with modern technologies. And I appreciate that, but I think that's also a very dualistic statement. And maybe we could talk about why that is so. Chopra essentially isn't sure that we won't destroy ourselves. And he doesn't really care whether we do or not. It's not important, right? He says we'll either evolve into metahumans with non-local awareness and abilities, or we'll just be a failed experiment. And he said he doesn't really like the idea of hope because it symbolizes despair. Like the corollary of hope is despair. The last thing that I thought was very interesting was how he chooses to spend his day. He gets up and he does yoga and meditation until about, what did he say? I think noon. And then he works from noon till 5. And then after 5, he goes back into reading, meditation, just being happy, being joyful. And his work is his joy. So what I got from him was, I remember one time when he actually sued someone for something. I can't remember what it was. That was probably 20 years ago. And I wonder if he would choose to sue someone again. It's just a thought. Because his last message was take it easy. Just take it easy. Don't be in resistance to existence, which is exactly what the Book of Innocence is telling us. Right? Exactly. So let's look at some of the comments here. Barbie said she can't get her video to work. Okay, but you're here, Barbie, right?
Yep, I'm here.
Okay, good to have you. And Kendall says, no doubt why they say there is only one. Here's what struck me. This is Kendall. The whole thing is a lucid dream in a vivid now, and it's ungraspable. Wake up to who is dreaming. It never left home. Loka means location. So loka is the appearance in space-time of what is not in space-time. It is the formless manifesting in space-time. Nothing is everything. Here's a new formula for you. I was going to get into this. I wonder if anyone would bring this up. 0 equals 1 equals infinity. 0 equals 1 equals infinity. Nothing becomes everything. So out of the formless arises form. The formless becomes manifest as form. 0 and infinity are the same, and it is all one. And David, not knowing leads to knowing, and that, what a short, succinct truth. And Dago says, I love that. Let everything go. And then David's the infinity of awareness reminds me of a quote from another YouTube that we had, which is, it's either the limited awareness of experience or the unlimited experience of awareness. I'll read that again. The limited awareness of experience or the unlimited experience of awareness. It's the unlimited experience of awareness that I think is being spoken to here. And Libby says, another reminder to rest And then Julie says, you're touching on so many things that Deepak said that struck me. Very powerful. Yes. Really good. Julie, I'm so glad. I'm so glad that that you watched it. So let's open it up for discussion. I will I will mute myself and just ask if anyone has anything they would like to say. What moved you in this? Cindy.
I'm raising my hand in here. I was talking to Diane this morning. She watches the videos, even though she's a working stiff, so she doesn't come to a lot of our meetings. But she listened to it, watched it this morning, and it was like she couldn't wait to just sit and watch it again. And I could feel it. That the number one thing I wanted to say about this hour, which is not who he was for me when I first, was introduced to him 20 or 30 years ago, was his joy. So he just was that for me. He had that sense. Carol Howe does the same thing for me, right? You just step into the presence of a being who understands that life ain't serious and that God's desire for you is this happiness, and it just expresses out of their pores. And that was he just was a fountain of that. It's just don't do it unless it brings you joy. So that was the first thing that I found so valuable to me. The second was, and it was a simple part of the teaching, right? He said, here he was, this successful doctor in a new age, and he's teaching Ayurvedic and everything else, and he's got a successful medical practice. And I don't remember who his teacher was, so I don't remember the,
Maharishi Yoga.
okay, Maharishi Yoga. And he comes, and the man tells him, drop everything and come and study with me. And Deepak was like, I have a mortgage, I have a practice. And just the way he said it, that's just Maya. But I have, that's just Maya. And somehow he knew it was true, and he dropped it all and stepped into miracle consciousness. And he's like, I don't, the money's just flowing now. Some books got written, money's flowing. I stopped focusing on making a successful, worldly life, and just sit in this bliss, this joy. And that really moved me. And the third thing really is something that Joel Goldsmith teaches all the time too. And he said it, the concepts, Joel calls them the word of God, which is interesting because with the guides, the word of God is the movement, the energy, but the conceptual understanding has value. It holds the container, but the actual expression and the living and what Deepak was just being in that podcast can only happen with through direct experience. And he used those words, direct experience. So you got to drop the concepts and practice. And yeah, those are the things. Like just the clarity of those pointings just lit me up. So thank you.
Thank
That's
you. Thank
what I
you.
wanted to share.
It may be, I watched a Francis Lucille video that just came out a little while ago, and we're going to be watching it. Cindy's going to post it, and we'll watch it and talk about it in another few weeks whenever it comes up. One of the things I noticed about Francis Lucille's podcast, the YouTube, and Deepak's, both of them are getting older, and I got this. Um, it was sort of I just call it a perfume that came through for me on with both these gentlemen, was they just want to get the heart of the matter out there. They're not, they're at the end of their teaching, and they're not so much interested in the details or the sidelines or things like that. They just want to get the heart of the teaching to the student. And that's what Chopra was doing. I felt like it's just go for the joy. Yeah. And be your authentic self. That we keep coming back to that, or I keep coming back to that. Find your authentic self and be it. That is the greatest gift you can give. And so often we look at unity consciousness as being this bland, white, you know, potato salad kind of personality, you know? And that's not true at all. We are these divine sparks of creative juice. That's what we are. And it's so important to have fun with that. And that's where the joy comes from, doesn't it? Is from that divine expression and exploration. Okay, Sandra.
I'm having so much fun with the heart button today. Sitting here, listening to you and Cindy speak gives me this most beautiful high. I'm just flying high. And I'll probably say the same things you said, but just coming from this, because the things that touched you were the things that touched me. And I also, Cindy, I used to listen to Deepak Chopra years ago, and I read his books, and he is completely evolved. He used the word, he said, I have evolved over time. And yes, it was perfume. It was beautiful perfume, Amy. So one of the first things, and I only listened to it once right before this meeting, and there's so much more that I would like to hear again, but the first thing when he said was like so resonating was that no system of thought gives you realization. And I have had people ask me, well, how did you get where you are? And I honestly do not know. I do not know. So I can't really answer that. I can point to experiences. And once a while ago, when I first met Cindy, she says that we're dealing with maps, and a map is not the experience, or she said something like that. And that really helped. So when you started pointing out, Amy, what he said about let go of every concept, and I wrote down map next to that, let go of that, that's where I can say, if I had to answer that question of how I am where I am, it's when I stopped believing, even though I had all the maps. I mean, the very first time when I had an awakening experience, I went to Bible study because I thought, well, that must be the map. And I did like 5 years of that. And then when I realized, and then I went to the Course in Miracles, and I thought that was the map. And then I heard about the non-dual teaching, and I thought that was, I thought, well, they are all maps, but I thought that was it, and non-dual was it. And then I realized that that these are all just systems of thought, and none of them can fully capture for me.
No.
They become limiting. Like I thought, oh, the Catholic religion limited me. Then I thought the Bible limited me. Then I thought the Course in Miracles. I mean, all of them are limiting. The only truth that I can depend on for sure that I know is the inner wisdom that is revealed to me, even with all of these pointers. And all of them say things that, yes, that's true. Yes, that's true. And the other day it was just yesterday, Cindy, when you were saying how when I said the Course is true, I thought, oh, yeah, I remember blurting that out. And the very first time when I had I don't know what to call it, but I'll call it an awakening experience. I know the reason I had that was because I was reading something and something in me went, that's true. That knowing, that's true. And it kind of cracked things open. And I started seeing everything differently and feeling everything differently. And someday I'll talk about that. But the other thing you said was embrace presence. Everything is God. You already spoke to this, Amy, but I have to speak to it again. It's why I say sadness is beautiful, because everything is God. Crying is beautiful. Everything is beautiful because everything is God. He called it presence, not God. I called it God. Embrace presence in every experience. The infinite is present in every experience. Wow. Then there is something that nobody touched on that I had to keep rewinding and listening to this one sentence over and over again, that I just want to throw out there in case anybody has something to say about it. He was talking about knowing what is happening in the body. And he said there were three things. Like, I don't know if they were three levels or three steps, but one was focused awareness, like being fully present, focused awareness. Then there was transcendence. I think he was talking about the yogi tradition, but maybe I don't remember. But then he said, that leads to so-called supernormal powers, non-local dormant potentials that every human being has access to. And I went back again and wrote that down. That's what I was expressing when I said the Course in Miracles is true. He put words to it that I didn't know. I know it's true because I've experienced it. It's like that direct experience. It's not something I hope for or I think might be true. I know it's true. So that's pretty amazing that he brought that up. And then I did focus on the joy. How could I not focus on the joy? It's all that matters. Even if I don't understand any of this. It's all that matters. It's every moment has the potentiality to experience the joy. Every single moment. And boy, do I love that. I'm addicted to that. I want more of that. I want that all the time. And it's not dependent upon what is happening. It's not at all dependent upon that. It is only, what did you say, Amy? I loved what you said. It's not difficult to find, it's impossible to avoid. It's impossible to avoid when you know. And so, I get such joy being here with all of you. And I didn't mean to, I'm not going to say that, Cindy. I was going to say I didn't mean to go on so long, but Cindy will call me on it. So I'm changing that to, I'm so glad I went on so long.
Look at all the conversation you started. A lot of hands have gone up. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much, Amy. I loved how you got us into this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, Livy.
Hey there. Yeah, I had lowered it. Sandra pretty much said what I was going to say, and it is interesting because I was also introduced to him about 30 years ago, and it is interesting to see how he's evolved. But one of the things that Sandra touched on that has just brought me such joy and comfort is, and I love how we hear the same thing said in different ways, and I just continue to love that. And for some reason it went into my being or something, if whatever that is, that, he was pointing to, that's consciousness, this is, and, I kind of went into my kitchen and I was like, hey, I mean, it's just, yeah. And like Cindy had pointed out and I'm getting chills, it's like Cindy pointed out one day, to look at a tree, not as it's green or it's that, everything. So yeah, I was just that's what I was going to bring up, Sandra, so yeah, just fabulous.
And once you realize that, I mean, how can you not be joyful? That's the thing. When you fully accept that
And
and
he,
yeah,
and the way he mentioned, about how, and I'm not going to say it exactly, but how, consciousness is in this form having an experience, and that was just gave another way. Yeah, I just absolutely just melted into that. So yeah.
thank you, Livy. I just want to, one of the reasons it's so important to love yourself fully and completely, to know that you are the beloved, is because it is not possible to see the joy in everything unless you are the container for that. So it is of paramount importance that you remove all self-hatred and condemnation from your field, right? You must do that. Thank you for reminding us of that. Yeah. Cindy.
I'll be real quick. There's two things I want to say. The first is over the last month or so, Amy has facilitated a conversation. She will again. Mel has picked a teacher and facilitated a conversation. Rana has too. It is the ultimate vision and an open door that this hour, as many other hours, is a shared facilitation hour. So after my doing this almost every week, there are people here. I'm looking at some specific ones. I really want you to sit with your heart. It's such an amazing experience to be with a teacher, to recommend it to this group, and to be willing to step through and facilitate these conversations. So I wanted to say that out loud. The other thing is thank you, Sandra. There's something I want to say out loud because I somehow skimmed what you were just talking about, this supernatural ability. I skimmed it when he said it. This morning I was listening to David GM and some of this Kabbalah teaching, and I skimmed over. So this is Kabbalah. He said, held within every human soul vessel, whatever he called him, is the energy that exceeds the energy of a nuclear explosion. And
Yeah.
all we have to do is tap into the truth of who we are. And so I had completely forgot he said that. And as soon as you reminded us of what Deepak said, it lit up in me. So I just wanted to say it out loud so that I can understand that we ain't little. And that's all I got.
Sometimes I think sitting in meditation, maybe it's the Kundalini effect. It doesn't really matter what it is, but we can feel the nuclear power in us. And the body as a container is really for the vast majority of us is not really aligned to hold all of that. But that's what we're moving toward. That's what we're moving into being more of a light body. And I say that, and it's just an instinct that I have. The other thing is, all of these supernormal capabilities are great, and I was very interested. I found myself drawn toward Chopra's. He spends time in other realms, and I'm like, well, what other realms? Tell me about that. I am so curious. But that's not the point, right? And that's why the yogis say, don't, Atmananda, I think it was, that said, yeah, I can do all this shit, but I don't do it. There's no point, I don't need to. I can time travel, I can go to other localities, but the point is to be here, right? So, I just want to throw that in. And Julie, come on to the head of the table.
Hi, everyone. So blessed to be here. Yeah, like I said in the chat, everything you had touched on, I had kind of, I always take, well, I'm sure you guys do too. I take notes when I'm listening, and I had to listen to Deepak several times because this is really new to me, and I'm thankful for my friends Livy and Rhonda to tell me just keep an open mind. And I did, and I would go back and I listen, and all of a sudden be like, wow. And the one thing that really blew me away, because you guys all touched on all of it, and I know Rhonda and Livy will crack up at this one, but the one that really struck me is the more you are silent, the more dynamic your life becomes. And I was like, whoa, because I like to talk. But I am finding as I'm getting more spiritual, I really do like the quiet time, and just sitting in with me. And so that was really an eye opener for me. But you guys touched on everything. It's just the A1 kind of scared me a little, when he talked about that. But then I had to be like, okay, just bring it back to today. And I love the joy. It said joy is the only measure of success. If you don't have joy, you're wasting your life. So today, while I was swimming, I'm like, oh, is this really bringing me joy? Because I'm getting back into it. So it's a little difficult, but I love being in the water because I feel that's very spiritual. But I kind of cracked up at that. But I was like, yes, I'm able to do this. So I feel joy that my body is still working. But yeah, I'm really, since this, I'm really focusing on today, that today is the day that I have got, bring joy to other people, and that I've got to start with me, and I've got to love me because God is inside me. And you guys, I just feel like I've been rocked into the fourth dimension again. I don't know. I'm just like, whoa. So thank you. Thank you. I know I've got a lot to learn, but I'm just blessed that for today, I can be gentle with myself and just, learn it, and then learn and ask questions and learn from you guys. So thank you.
Oh, thank you, Julie. And I want to just say, it's folks like yourself that are willing to come in and ask questions and share your observations. There's a freshness to what you bring to the table. So I really appreciate that, because the enthusiasm, the whoa, that's what we love, right? And so when you bring that and share that, it really lifts us all up. So I want to say thank you for that. Yeah. Mel,
Hi,
good
everyone.
afternoon.
I enjoyed so hearing everybody's, and it was, I guess it's almost synchronicity, but this morning I was hoping to get here in time because this morning I had an appointment over at the University of Virginia's hospital, and I dropped my husband off where he works. And so anyway, because of the parking situation, I had to walk all through the university. And on my way back, I wanted to see the physics building was getting all renovated, and so I wanted to check it out. So I kind of hung out, but it was so perfect. And when you talked about matter, all matter is superstition, and you see, of course, exams is going on right now, so you see this intensity, this hub of quote knowledge, and you see all these labs and these researchers and all these offices, and just hanging out there. It was such a wonderful, contrast, or you say these science, the greatest realm, whatever is, it can be really just a level of superstition. And I'm so grateful, well, the gratitude of knowing that, what we know or what we've experienced and kind of is infinitely more valuable, I guess you could say. We're so blessed in that sense. And two other things I wanted to mention was when he mentioned his equation, which was a 0 equals infinity equals 1. Okay, that suddenly came to me was because I do yoga. I don't know if anybody else does it, but on the solstice, there's a tradition, to do 108 vinyasa flows. And 108, 1 is the 1, the 0. So 108, 8 is the symbol of infinity. So that just struck me as that is so cool. So that formula is, it's the same formula. It's out there. And finally, I do need some help. He talked about the event horizon, and I didn't quite get, does anybody quite get that? Where he throws the coin into the black hole, and depending on where you're standing or whatever, it's either infinite or eternal, or it's instantaneous, like an instant, holy instant, or it's normal. And I don't know, does anybody quite?
Yeah, I think what he said, let me see if I can find this. He said, you and the universe, wait a minute, where is it? I just saw. Okay, science and spiritual concepts are not realization. They are systems of thought conceived in consciousness. They might point the way, but they're not it. Cindy just said that. You must experience consciousness. Nothing about reality or who you are is true. This is scary because it removes the anchor. It crosses the event horizon and puts you in a place of not knowing. So the event horizon, we don't know what lies beyond the event horizon. That's the entry point into the black hole, right? We have no clue what's there. We just get sucked into it, and then we lose all our authority. And he said, that's scary because it removes the anchor. But if you stay with it, you'll cross it, and then it eliminates time because now you're just in it. You're just in your not knowing, which is what David wrote in the chat room. Not knowing or leads to knowing, right? And he says, who is the you who crosses over? You will lose your identity. He says, you'll lose it once you cross the event horizon. And this is the dark night of the soul. But he said, this is what it takes. This is what it takes. The body is an experience in you, and it's liberating. You have to surrender to non-conceptual reality. So I don't know if that answers your question or not. That's just what I had.
That was great. It also, some of it reminded me of Regina. Oh, that's another map. Regina Doniger's, her 4 principles. And she goes the fourth principle, I guess, everything that's not real. And it's just about everything is not real. She really emphasized that, as he does emphasize that everything we see, touch, taste, whatever, it's not real. And so, yeah, and she seems to take you that direction too. So,
Yeah, it's, I loved it when he said everything is a magical lie.
yeah. I mean, it's wonderful, but it's a lot still nonetheless.
Yeah.
Boy.
It sort of adds it adds a playfulness to the whole thing. We don't need to take it so seriously,
That's the
Everything
liberation.
it's all magic. Really. There's no like it's all that. Thank
Yeah.
you for that. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
now. That's bringing us to that. Patricia, good
Hey,
morning.
good morning to all. It's in the 10 o'clock zone. It's wonderful to be here. And as Richard would say, I do love you. So the thing that I was thinking about is how we are individual personalities, but we're all one. So, being a visual person and being an artist, I thought, oh my God, look at all these beautiful fruit that I'm hanging out with. So delicious, so tasty. And we're all one. And I just found that the image just so delicious and part of a tree. And God created the tree, so God must have created the fruit and must have created us. And that was one part. And another part was also that continual practice is, I don't know, let it go, let it go. That continual practice and how that practice can lead us to be able, as he puts it, the dark night of the soul, to be able to jump over or to work over and to completely let go and surrender. I haven't gotten there yet. And one other thing I wanted to say to Julie, I'm only 5 months old here. Okay, so you're not alone. Okay, thank you, everybody. And
Thank you, Patricia.
for creating this opportunity to be able to share with us all. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
Thank you. When you said about the tree, God made the tree, um, I look at it as God is the tree, right? And we are the fruit. We aren't separate from the tree. We are the tree, right? And that's part of the self-love, you know. I am the fruit of the tree, right? And the tree is love, extending as above, so below, you know. And so how can I not love myself as the fruit of the tree? And I mean, we seem to in the dream, but that's all part of the learning too. And how much fun it is to come back to realizing that's part of the miracle that we were talking about the other day. That miracle of awesomeness, like in that holy instant, I am the love. Wow. What a great, wonderful, joyous thing. Who would take that experience away from anyone? But when you're in the dark night of the soul, you don't remember that you're the love, right? And you can't remember because that's the point, isn't it? You wouldn't have the experience of remembering and the joy if you didn't forget. And that's the whole thing, the breathing in and breathing out of the universe. Ah, Rana, what you got for us?
Thanks, Amy. Good afternoon. Good morning. I love the different angles that everybody brings to the same hour and 10 minutes that we all watch, right? It's just so rich. And I want to thank everybody for that. I'm just going to whiz through and not worry about whether you already said it or not. Some of the really good pointings for me was about, this self-identification. Starting with that first sentence, he said, there's no real world and no real looking. The eyes don't see. We perceive, what, if we're going to say anything sees, then it's the images that are taken into the brain and flipped around and then given meaning by the mind, which, that's part of God too, because it's all God. That's part of it too. But what it does is it creates this separate sense of self. I'm the one thinking this, I'm the one seeing this. So there's that perception. And like was said, God is beyond the threshold of comprehension. And as soon as I think I know or understand that, I've limited it all. Because that's what the mind does, is it limits the infiniteness of what I truly am. And so he says, wake up to who is dreaming. There's that question again, right? Who's having this experience? Who's watching the movie? And he even talked about the screens, when we watch a Netflix and then you put on a game show, right? The screen didn't change. It's laying on it like a cover, right? It's a little deception there that I believe the screen has now become this world that I'm watching, but really it's just a screen. And he said, the one that's dreaming keeps dreaming infinite dreams. And we are part of those infinite dreams. Each one is this locus, this point of view of the infinite dreamer. And we think we're having a localized dream. And within this dream, right, we think we suffer because of our mind and our thinking, and we think we're bodies. And I think I'm Rana. And I loved his line. He said, it's recycled drama from the separate self. And he really used that example of memory, right? He asked Andre to remember when he was a kid and remember this and that. He's like, where did that come from? Like, at first you want to say, well, it's my mind. Well, where in the mind holds the memory? Oh, it must be coming from consciousness, that container that we've been talking about, and accessed because it has been focused on by a point of view for just a moment. So I love that. Time, there is no time. I can't hear that enough, right? He said, time is the movement of thought using the ego as an identity. So immediately when I say I am Rana with a past and all these stories, or a future, all these goals, immediately I am in a limited self, having an experience of a dream. It's just right there. And it's not bad. It is how consciousness remembers itself, but it's the game. And so that's where the don't take it too seriously comes in, and then resting in an as presence beyond whatever it is, going to that spot provides that relief for this one to remember what truth is. I got to remember truth, even though my mind is screaming, do something in the world. I got to remember that truth. He said, I am a non-local being having a local experience. Man, that gives me the jam right there. That really feels very true to me. He said, biology is an experience of consciousness, right?
Yeah.
It's another story. And that the subject object split is actually artificial. It's part of the dream. Consciousness experience itself as subject object, but there's nothing that's not consciousness. And then the last thing he said was, I am an experience in consciousness, maybe of consciousness, but I, Rana, am not consciousness. I am this localized point of view, that I, right? I'm not talking about the big I first principle Melanie was pointing to, I'm talking about like the limited dream character. And it's such a freedom to know that I am not that. And I extend my love to each of you today. I too, as we talk about these things, I get re-energized, re-excited. It's all I want to talk and read about, so thank you.
It's so true. Oh, thank you, Rana. Patricia.
Thank you. I also was impressed with what he was talking about with Alzheimer's patients, how the veil of reality as we know it lifts. And they are just, but that kind of mind is just experiencing. It may experience of the dead ones and be speaking to them, or whatever those individuals who have Alzheimer's are aware of. But they are so present in the moment. And I remember visiting back in the States, visiting a unit, a dementia unit, because a friend was there, and so aware of the beauty in these people. They were just present. That's all there was. And I'm sure that there were others who were just agitated, etc. But it's like what was is no longer. And I think that's really quite beautiful. As we age, it's something we visit and we think about, but it doesn't matter anyway. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. That's a really great pointer. We don't really know what Alzheimer's is, do we? Not really, because consciousness cannot not be. It's just another experience. I remember going to visit my mother. She was in an Alzheimer's unit or a dementia unit, and it was late at night, and there was a woman in a wheelchair that almost never got up, and I got to know all these people because she was there for over a year. And another woman who had a really very serious, I think it's called kyphosis, where her back was really hunched over. And they were in the cafeteria. They were all alone. And the woman in the wheelchair was holding the hands of the woman with kyphosis. And her kyphosis was so bad that I think all she could see was what was down at her feet. And they were holding hands and dancing to this music that no one could hear, right? And they were just so full of joy holding each other's hands and dancing together. And that's an image that will stay with me. It has stayed with me for a long time. Joy is everywhere, it's just everywhere. So thank you for that, Patricia. Thank you. Michelle hasn't said anything. I don't want to, and neither has Josephine. Neither has Indigo, Chuck. We got 3 minutes.
I'd like to chime in. I feel totally lost because I missed several days this week. I was not able to attend. So I don't know what we're all talking about. I loved hearing you, but if I know we were referencing some, I don't know, book, some reading, something. So I'll go back and replay what I missed. So I have been unable to say anything other than I'm really glad to be here and to see everyone. And I will go back and find out the wonderful reading and will have missed in the discussion, but at least I heard all of you. So thanks.
Oh, thank you, Josephine. And you'll just see it in a new way because what you've already heard will just inform you, and it'll all be good.
And just by way of information, I am going to be away for 2 weeks, and I will take my iPad with me and attend all those that I can attend. But I will be with so many other people, it may not be possible. So just letting you know that it's not that I don't want to be, but just that I will not be able to be with many of our meetings.
Well, thank you, Josephine, and we'll look forward to you turning in. And if you want to go Finding Truth, go to Finding Truth Everywhere on Cindy's website, an open door, and then you'll see it's a Deepak Chopra YouTube and Andrea DeCoom, and it's right there, and it'll list this week, and you could just watch it. It's just a little over an hour, and there's the link. Kendall just put it in.
Oh, thank you. Love to. Thanks so much.
Okay. All right, Indigo and then Chuck.
How can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to say, I just love what you just shared about the dancing and the joy that they were having, because that just inspires me too. So my mom has lost most of her vision, or I don't know, I don't understand it, but she can't. Yeah, so it just happened where she can't see now as much as she could before. And it's perfect, even though, it's different, but I'm just so inspired to just enjoy everything, that everything is here for us, whatever it is. Even though my mom is like losing her vision, that's a gift, and that it's here for her, whatever it is. maybe it's that we're going to be with her more. I mean, maybe we're going to help, whatever it is, that it is a gift for us. And just hearing you share about, what you just shared about was just, to me, so breathtaking. I just wanted to just hang out there. It was just so hard. I don't know. I just loved it so much. And it's just how every moment is such a gift. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't want to pass without saying anything at all because I did watch that and I've just been overwhelmed by all the sharing. I had taken the note that joy jumped out because that's always been. I used to say joy was just a word in the dictionary to me for such a long time, and you enforced it again. Take it easy. I had made as a note and. Not knowing, because I feel like I'm not knowing, but not knowing is leading to knowing, hopefully listening to this and processing it and not limiting myself. I need to not limit myself. I always have a tendency to want to limit myself. You're all wonderful and thank you so much. And I just had to say something to acknowledge all this and feel so blessed that I've been blessed with being a part of it. Thank you.
And isn't it wonderful how the universe works? Amy's internet just dropped. Like I saw her going like this. I said, "Oh, what is she doing? Sending a text?" And then like my phone beeped and it was Amy saying, "My internet just dropped." So I get to say, I love us very much. I am on a plane first thing tomorrow morning. So I do believe Rana's going to do whatever she did last Friday. I haven't had a chance
Yes,
to
I
watch
am.
anything. And reality check. And Rana will also be leading the Where the Rubber Meets the Road on Monday. I won't be back. David, between David and Melanie and Rana, who's the third person on
Michelle?
Tuesday?
Michelle is bringing the
Yeah.
top.
So between Mel and David and Michelle, Tuesday's 12 stepping is going to be fabulous because neither Rana nor I will be here. And then we'll all be back on Wednesday.
Did I volunteer for something?
You volunteered to do everything that Rana does during the 12 stepping meeting.
Oh,
I sent you the
preamble and
format.
beg your pardon? Oh, okay. I did volunteer. Okay.
Yeah, I emailed you the format, David.
You did. I know where that is. So thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
There you go.
Like I say,
Stop the
yeah,
recording.